Hello team, welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan MS Pierce. Ukraine War News Update, second part thereof for the 25th of July 2025. I almost said 2027. I just don't know. I don't even know what year it is, let alone what day. Okay, let's start with our military aid and equipment and other kind of aid video with the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz reconfirming, he seems to have done this a number of times, that Germany will not change its stance on strikes deep into Russia, aiming to avoid direct conflict with Russia. He emphasised the decisions are made carefully to prevent the Russia-Ukraine war from escalating into a Russia-NATO war. This is still an issue. This is still something that is holding back American support or American lack of changing of restrictions for Western weaponry inside Russia. And it is really constraining the Ukrainians, and it's massively frustrating. Okay, the Spanish Defense Minister Margarita Robles has updated the situation on military aid to Ukraine. Spain will send a fully operational Hawk anti-aircraft battery by September, which increases the air defense capacity of the Ukrainian armed forces. Actually, what was said was this: Spain will send materials so that Ukraine has a Hawk anti-aircraft battery in September. So it's a little bit more nebulous. They will send materials so that Ukraine has a Hawk anti. There might be an anti-aircraft warfare battery that doesn't quite work at the moment. They send some gear to get it up to working order. It could be a way of interpreting that, or they send a whole new battery. This was stated by the minister in her conversation with her Ukrainian counterpart, Rustem Umarov, who thanked Spain for the important support, and that's from the Ministry of Defense, Spanish Ministry of Defense. And Colby Badwa agreed. Spanish Defense Minister announced to Minister Umarov the next shipment of the material necessary for Ukraine to have a fully operational Hawk. Unclear if it's entirely new Hawk battery, so additional materials to improve the operational readiness of the existing Hawk assets that they have provided. So remember, Spain has already provided Hawks, and it could just be making sure that the existing Hawks are fully operational. Whenever I say that, I think Star Wars. Estonia's entire army is 3,750. We forget sometimes how small the Baltics are compared to how much they're supporting Ukraine. Although we must also remember that their support as a percentage of GDP is really impressive, but their GDP is far, far smaller in real terms than, say, the US, right? And that can best be summed up by their entire army is 3,750. That's several hundred personnel shy of a standard US brigade combat team, with which they must secure a 300-kilometer border with Russia. Population is just over 1.2 million, with about 9% of the population in their 20s. No surprise that they're fortifying their frontiers. So there's talk about, you've seen these pyramids being stacked up, ready to be laid across borders with the Balkans. We've seen this with border fortifications and kind of no-go zones between Poland and Belarus. It's all ramping up, isn't it, in Eastern Europe? So Estonia said they'll spend over 4% of GDP on defence in 2026, perhaps as far as 4.5%, which is what I reported yesterday. But their army is absolutely tiny. And Intel Schizo says, kind of sad that the Vermont National Guard and Air National Guard have more personnel than the entire Estonian military, with 4,000 troops, and Vermont's population is less than half of Estonia. We also have 8,200 veterans that served over the last 20 years in GWOT. So this is, as Patrick Foss says, that was army only. Their total active strength is around 7,100, with another 41,000 also in reserve status in case of war. I mean, the point isn't trying to get one over on Estonia in terms of Vermont. Conscription still takes place. It's just, I think it's incredible how much support the Balkans are giving. But then it is reflective of their experience with Russia, historically speaking and politically speaking. They are just such staunch supporters of Ukraine, even given their small size. A UK Ministry of Defence has awarded Thales UK with a £176 million contract for Martlet, the lightweight multi-role missiles. So these are the missiles I talked about yesterday, the Starstreak sort of missiles and martlets. Hundreds of martlets have been provided to Ukraine from MOD stocks and need to be replaced. The missiles will equip current and future short-range air defence capabilities, including the British Army's Stormer combat vehicles and Royal Navy's Martlet maritime anti-surface missile system, deployed from Wildcat helicopters. Martlet is a very versatile missile and is also slated to fulfill the British Army's requirement for a guided submunition payload for their future ER, Gimlers and Prisms. So the kind of missiles that you're seeing replacing, the Gimlers, HIMARS, replacing ATACMS, the new Prisms in America. There could be versions of these that would fit the role for the UK. They're being produced by Thales UK, which is actually a French manufacturer, but that's the British arm. This is showing, I think, that the UK are probably providing Ukraine with a lot of their surface-to-air missiles. We heard yesterday that they are training on a Starstreak manpad, so that could well be leading to an uptick in the need for those missiles. Britain is to be ready for war in 3 years, according to the Army Chief. As the Daily Telegraph reports, General Sir Rowley Walker warns a very dangerous Russian might attempt to seek revenge on the West for aiding Ukraine. So there's this, this is why I talk about how we're kind of in World War III, but just most of us don't realise it. And people out there on the streets in my neighbourhood probably don't realise it. But the people in the corridors of power do realise this. And the people in the upper echelons of the armed forces do realise this. And there are so many threats around the world when you talk about China, when you talk about what's going on in Africa, when you talk about the Middle East. Our army, the British Army, which has been underfunded, our armed forces have been underfunded for so long. But the Army Chief says, look, we've got to be ready for war in 3 years. We're not ready for war now. We're underfunded. We're under-equipped. We're understaffed. We need to be ready in 3 years' time. Now, what that means is that the Labour government have to find an absolute ton of freaking money to pay for this. But security is the number one issue. And that's why I spent this time yesterday talking about how important it was that Rishi Sunak, the first thing he talked about in the new parliament, opens up Prime Minister questions. Rishi Sunak gets up and says, I hope you're going to continue working in a bipartisan manner to support Ukraine. I hope you're going to continue considering the security of the nation as one of our priorities. And Keir Starmer was like, yep, for sure, full show. But that requires money, and then there are difficult choices that will have to be made because there's no money left in the pot, really. And how are Labour going to bring about the changes they want to government in terms of education, welfare, NHS, and of course, defence, without coming across an absolute ton of money? Really challenging. In the same kind of context of UK defence as it pertains to Ukraine. UK and Germany have signed a defence deal as Trump's potential return looms over Ukraine aid. So the two largest European donors of military aid to Ukraine, Germany and the UK, signed a defence pact on July the 24th as London aims to reset security ties with Europe. This is really important. We are having closer ties with Europe in sensible ways in terms of security and defence that will be mutually beneficial, right? This is a positive sum game, win-win situation for both Europe and UK if we work more closely with Europe. And again, there's going to have to be a need to reinvest in our defences. So Czechia is preparing a new shell initiative to supply Ukraine in 2025. So you've got the Czech initiative at the moment. They're supposedly giving, I don't know how many it is now, million shells. They're getting 50,000 per month at the moment to Ukraine. That should be upped in September, is it, to 100,000 shells a month. Prague is preparing to launch a new initiative to purchase artillery ammunition for Ukraine in 2025. That's really good news. Let's have a little look into the details here. This is a natural extension of the mechanism that is already working. The sooner donors allocate funds, the sooner our companies will sign long-term contracts. 5 Czech companies, Czechoslovak Group, STV, Group Omnipol, Colt CZ, Group SEIDSS, will participate in another project called Initiative 2025. And of course, yes, Czechia is doing an amazing job here, but also their companies are the ones who are doing well out of refurbishing the stuff as it comes in. So there is a definite advantage to any nation that takes a lead on. So, for example, the Latvia and UK taking lead on the drone coalition. It might be that those two countries actually get more of a benefit out of doing that, and the initiative here is, we'll sort it out, we'll do all the work in getting this, and it's brilliant, it's exactly what Ukraine needs, but it'll be our companies that are sorting out refurbishing those shells before they get to Ukraine. But such is the way. But yes, Lipavsky also mentioned Prague plans to send another 100,000 rounds to Ukraine in July and August. I heard 50,000 going up to 100,000. So in addition to the roughly 45,000 shells shipped in June. So differing numbers there, we'll see. 18 countries have pledged to support the initial initiative, with 15 having fulfilled their promises and provided the funds. So actually, it looks like a lot of the funds are already in place now. So that's fantastic news. Okay, it seems to be working, says French aid to Ukraine, concerning this picture of a drone that appears to be in a spot of bother. What's he talking about? Well, okay, caption. To neutralize these drones, which range from 100 grams to 25 kilograms, Thales, again, the French manufacturer, and CS Group have developed Parade, a multi-layer and quickly deployable system. A quick look at the Parade system supplied to Ukraine before 2024. So this is a particular system that Ukraine apparently have use of. I'll read out the subtitles to you. That's to neutralize drones from 100 grams to 25 kilograms. A rapidly deployable system. Let's see what it said here. The first layer is a radar. This is coming from Le Parisien. So 25 kilogram radar, 360 degrees, 5 kilometer. What is that? I don't know. Instrumental can carry itself 5 kilometer range, I think, possibly. So the radar allows detection. By detection, it says here, man, this means that we know that there's an object at a location of the airspace, and it will give a first classification. When we say classification, that is to say if it's a drone, bird, pedestrian, etc., etc. And then we have a second capacity that we call a goniometer. I don't know what that is. Anyway, the goniometer will listen to all frequencies in 360 degrees, and it will intercept drones' frequencies. And then the third layer is the camera. It will gather the information given by the radar and goniometer, which listens to frequencies and can have a visual recognition. This data set is merged to present the situation of drones interested to the operator. Sorry, I had to rewind it a little bit there. Is merged to present the situation of the drones interested to the operator who uses the system, and with this information, the operator will make the decision or not to neutralize. So obviously this is a way of acquiring targets through the use of those different pieces of tech, and then obviously you're going to shoot it down some other way. So this isn't a way of shooting down the drone, I presume. This is just the radar system, but I guess this is an end result of that system being used and a drone being shot down. So anyway, there you go, French providing some anti-drone capabilities for the Ukrainians there. Now, the 14 Leopard 2A4 tanks purchased by the Netherlands and Denmark for Ukraine will be shipped this summer. This was announced by Dutch Defence Minister Ruben Brekelmans. The combat vehicles have been repaired and tested in recent months. The last 2 tanks are undergoing verification tests. The first 12 are ready for delivery. So this is excellent. We've seen a number of Abrams being damaged and taken out recently. I wonder if the Americans are going to supply some more Abrams soon. So we know that and it was really good to hear him talk about this to a degree last night, that Biden is going to be concentrating on Ukraine and the Middle East in his last 6 months, right? So he's kind of a lame duck president. We know that it'll either be Trump or Harris that's going to be running the show come January. So if he remains true to his word, then Biden can get on with making sure Ukraine get everything they need. So he's got a pot of money that I presume needs to be I mean, it doesn't need to be spanked now, but if it's not spanked now, you might imagine a situation that if Trump gets in, he'll reverse some of that funding somehow. I don't know if that's doable through Congress, but whatever. Like, I would be prompted, I'd be more inclined to believe that Biden would spend more of that money up front now. So you could have a situation where Ukraine end up with a bunch of Abrams tanks and Bradleys and a lot more equipment over the next 6 months. And then, goodness me, they need it. That's for sure. But the key is going to be: can Ukraine strike air bases in Russia? I mean, that yeah, it's just so important. Anyway, that I was referring to Biden giving his Oval Office speech last night. So Euromaidan press report on EU firms funneling electronics to Russia's war machine via an obscure Turkish firm. European investigation reveals how Russian corporation Promtech continues to source critical Western components for tanks, drones, missiles, etc. despite sanctions. And I'm just going to release that video. I had an issue with it. Enutech, a seemingly mundane company trading machinery, equipment and office furniture, plays a critical role in Russia's military supply chain. It has exported $7.7 million worth of goods to Russia in 2023, with at least $850,000 of these exports being Western components for weapons. Western military manufacturers implicated are Infineon, Tampo Print, Molex. Ukrainian intelligence reports Molex chips in Russian missiles that struck Kiev's Okhmadit Children's Hospital on July the 8th. Most firms claim sanctions compliance, but experts question effectiveness of such measures. I hope that something can be done about that. And it's really good that people are still actually doing the work of investigating this stuff and finding it out so that action can be taken. Now we have a lot of new VPK 59095S VPK Ural armoured vehicles and several Tornado U trucks. I'm not going to read out that long number. This is somewhere in Luhansk, Kharkiv direction. I don't know how they know this, but they do. And it does appear like there are quite a few vehicles here. So Russia are still... I literally just muted that. Why do you do this to me, you horrible, horrible computer platform, Cosmos? Anyway, sorry, I digress. I need to rail in my music anger. So here we have quite a lot of kit that then gets lined up, and you get a look around it. It's almost like an advert, this, almost to say, look, we're still making stuff. Which I don't know, that's interesting in and of itself. But the reality is they are still making this stuff, it appears. Those do look to be brand new bits of kit rolled off the production line and getting sent to Ukraine. And that is a concern. Now, are they producing this at the rate that they are losing this equipment? Almost certainly no. But they do still have obviously some production capacity, as you would expect with a nation on a war footing. Okay, thanks for watching. I really appreciate your support. Take care. Speak to you soon.